jumping in here at the Get Busy podcast. We're flipping the script a little bit and sitting down with Galina, who actually has spent the last week behind the camera, flipping switches, turning on lights, moving people around. But we wanted to talk to you because you are Russian. And you are a business owner, and you have a really interesting story about, first of all, just being an immigrant in this country and launching a business and, running this really cool studio. You're an artist. So let's talk about it. First of all, Galina, what's your last name?
Valean.
Oh, see, I think I could have pronounced that. I was super scared to ask you because, Russian last names go on for a long time. Okay, so tell us your story.
I don't gonna go too far. I'm gonna start since I came to America. It was 2016, and I was always passionate about photography, and I was always around the visual arts. But first, probably like 3 years of my existence here was not so bright. It was a lot of like paperwork and go through the whole immigration process, and I have a lot of dreams, but when you think like when you're gonna get all official papers, your life is gonna change. You're gonna be like
Official,
everybody
right?
else here, but no, it's not so easy. And I say like the business which we have now was started in 2018.
So what is the name of your business?
Right now we're in the Brookie podcast studio, and I also own the Encapsulate studio, which is a photography studio, and my personal like architecture photography practice is a Singular Pro.
So you have three things going on simultaneously.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to where you were talking about like the starting of your first business. The paperwork, the immigration part.
Yeah. I would say I probably my journey was pretty easy because I fall in love soon after I came here. We get married, and it took a long time, but it was easy process to get my paperwork through the marriage. And also it's double easier because we still together and we really love each other, and it's like my bigger supporter, my partner, and I'm happy about this. So I think in the beginning I understand like I need to be with like Americans, with the people, like that's my reason why I came here. I want to be in a different country, and I want to understand their culture and how it's worked there. And I know a lot of immigrants, they get stuck in their community. It's great to have a support of your community because you share the same roots, but it didn't give you as many opportunities as to be like out in the world.
So how challenging is it for you? Like and you haven't been here that long, and the businesses are pretty young. What are the challenges you've had, trying to launch a business? I mean, and a successful business. The studio is cool. The blue couch is, it's becoming famous, right? But talk about the challenges, like the unexpected things being an entrepreneur and a small business owner in this country.
Challenge, I guess when you start a business, you're on your own. It's great if you can find a mentor or somebody to talk to, but probably most of the time you do it in your head and you put it in a reality and you try to understand how it's gonna work. Because when you work on somebody in the office, you always have somebody who's gonna tell you what to do and who's gonna tell you if you did something wrong. Here is just all your responsibilities. And sometimes it's getting frustrated when you don't receive the response which you expected and you try to understand why it doesn't work. But I would say it's a challenge, but it's also a creative process.
Yeah, and we were talking downstairs earlier, and you were explaining to me, like just the paperwork part of running a business, the hiring freelancers and all of that. So, how do you manage all of the, it's kind of the administration, right? Like if you're a creative person, and that means you're maybe not good at administration. I suck at it, frankly. So, talk about how you tackle those. Like you're the hiring person, you're the CEO, you're the creative director. How do you do all of those things?
We're blessed. We live in a world when everything you can find online.
Yeah.
And like if you suck in something, find somebody who can compensate you in this, like partner or employee. But be like curious and read and try to understand how everything works. And the busy, if you don't know how to do your paperwork, you always can find a professional who can do it for you.
Exactly.
But as a human resources, that's probably the biggest challenge in any business. So to like hire people to figure it out how it's work, it's still a big learning process for me. So because I'm a person who wearing most of the hats in my companies, but as a like photographer, I always saw like I do everything myself and I cannot take myself out of the business. That's where I understand like to make it a business, I need to understand how I can give everything what I know and let other people do it.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about your photography, because it's not like, your photography, you called it something and I'm going to try to remember it, but it's architectural photography. Talk a little bit about that niche of art.
I think like photography, it's very wide and everybody can find what they love the most. But I have a degree as interior designer and I always was love environment and like see how we connect it to the places where we live inside or outside. That's why architectural photographer, it's like the perfect combination for me, because I can use my skills and I also can capture the buildings, which I enjoy to do. So this is very like, it's not as wider niche as like fashion photography, but we have clients and I don't know.
And we were downstairs when we were just kind of goofing around. We had a little debate about graffiti, right? Like I'm a big fan of the storytelling in graffiti, but you like as an aesthetic photographer, you don't like. What's your opinion on graffiti? I mean, we're in LA, like there's graffiti everywhere.
This is like a position about the art. What is art? Why the Mona Lisa is cost $1 million and like some paintings on a Venice beach is cost $50? Because behind every art there is a story. That we don't buy the picture, we buy the story. And the graffiti is like when we see the murals, they have a message there, and the graffiti, they may be part of their landscape and they look cool, but if they don't have a message, this is just vandalism.
Right,
So.
right. We were talking about the history of graffiti and how in some schools of thought, graffiti, so the graffiti in Pompeii and like the Roman Colosseum, there was a book recently about, and I know like, okay, it's probably vandalism, but historians study some of this, but the whole idea was that some of this graffiti was the first form of social media, right? So if you go to Pompeii, there's this graffiti that basically says, hey, the wine at Al's wine shop sucks. So there's all this messaging going on in the graffiti. And I just think it's kind of cool that it's a timestamp, but we're getting off topic here. I know, but we like that. It was a very heated, Russia versus USA take on graffiti.
Yeah, but it's just our representation. I cannot talk about it.
No, we have two different perspectives. And I was going to ask you, coming over here and experiencing our culture, like the business culture, entrepreneurship culture, how is it different than, and we don't have to get political about this, but how is it different than entrepreneurship in Russia? Is there even such a thing?
I think we call it a small business. You can be like doing business as, but mostly like it's going to be small business, different like tax paying, like all the paperwork. It's more complicated. You need to go through a lot of like official government buildings to receive a lot of signatures and stamps before you can really
Right.
run successful business. Here it's way easier. You can do everything online, and you don't have so much pressure. Like, you feel free to do whatever you want to do, and you know what, like, nobody gonna punish you for it.
Yeah. So you've been, very patient behind the camera for the last week, listening to different entrepreneurs and, theories on leadership. And, since you've been in this room, what are the trends that you're hearing from this season of the Get Busy podcast?
Oh, I get a lot of like inspiration, and like I see a lot of similarity when like what people was talking about. Most of them is like, just do it, keep pushing, and just don't be afraid to fail, because with the fail, that's where you learn. And there is now no business big or small, but keep learning, keep like be curious to the world and everything around
Yep.
you. But definitely like it was a lot of inspiration from all different businesses and entrepreneurs.
And perspectives on the topic of failure. Failure in this country is very much a part of, it's almost like failure is celebrated, right? Like you fail fast. There's actually a conference in Silicon Valley called FailCon, where everybody gets together to talk about their failures. That has to be a shock to your system, because failure is not embraced in Russian
Russia,
culture.
we're very proud people, and like if you're wrong, it's very hard to accept it. That's like I learned it from my partner. It is, I don't want to give a wrong message, but it is okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes, but learn from these mistakes, understand it, accept it, like, and don't do it anymore.
Exactly.
But it's definitely like, it's even with the language. I see a lot of my people from the Russian community, Russian speaking community, they're afraid to like push their business to the Americans, to the locals, because they're afraid of their language. But I never, in like for the last 8 years, I never met people who would look at me wrong if I say something not correct. So
exactly. So for the the people out there who are not, native English speakers, people who might be coming to this country for the first time, what is your advice to them on chasing the American dream?
First of all, don't stuck in your community, because you leave your country and you came here for a reason. And don't be afraid to look fool and ask for help, because everybody more than happy to help you, to guide you, to correct you, not in a wrong way, but in a positive way. And like, there is nothing impossible. There is nothing impossible here.
Yeah. No, your optimism is, it's contagious. You've been just such a joy to hang out with this week, and we're really grateful that you took a spot on the other side of the camera. But I have to ask you, you knew this was coming, Galina. The question, the big granddaddy of them all. When you are in a pickle and you need to express yourself, is it a fuck or a shit? Or not, anything.
I would tell you, you use a fuck for everything. So
So you're a fuck.
yes.
Yeah, that's a California trend,
But,
seems to be
yeah,
leaning.
Russian
in the...
language is more versatile. We have way more.
Really? What's your
cussing
favorite
words.
curse word in Russian?
I cannot say it.
You can't.
Like,
Nobody speaks Russian. Say it.
no.
You must.
They're all gonna translate as fuck.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go with fuck or fuckshinsky or whatever you say in Russian. Thank you so much for this and for the week. It has
was
been
my
really,
pleasure to
really
host
nice
you.
working with you. So thank you.